So welcome back. I'm Clint at Southern Minnesota TV, and today we're going to be working on a $10 go-kart. So my goal is to get this running and working without spending over $50 on this go-kart. So it'll be under $50 go-kart. I bought this frame for 10 bucks. If any of you guys know how auctions work, it was a consignment auction, so yeah, with farm equipment, and then it just happened to be a go-kart frame there. So I picked it up for $10. It is nothing pretty, really homemade. Yeah, look at this engine plate. It has a bolt welded to it right where you're supposed to mount the engine. Don't ask me why. The brakes push against the rubber of the tire to stop it. That's how it brakes. It doesn't have anything on the axle like a drum brake or a disc brake. And then also, being that we're talking about the axle, it has a differential. So it only puts power to one tire, and it can steer easier that way. And it needs that differential axle to steer easier, because that's all the sharper those wheels steer. That's all the way that way. That's all the way that way. And then also the tie rods and all the steering components are under the go-kart. So if you hit a bump, it'll turn the steering. So that's probably not the best design ever. But I could go on and on and on about how homemade this is and ugly it is and stuff I don't think is going to work very good, and all the performance modifications I might do to it in the future. Who knows? But right now, we're just going to get it running. So we need an engine. So as you guys probably know, you can't go to Harbor Freight and buy a Predator 212 for under $40 to keep this a $50 go-kart. So what I did is bought these two 3.5 horsepower engines. They are on water pumps right now. I bought both of them for $5 at this same consignment auction. So yeah, pretty good deal there. Haven't ever heard any of them run. I'm going to be picking one of them, and that's what's going to go in the go-kart for now, just to keep it super cheap. Here's a better look at the 3.5 horsepower Briggs & Stratton. So it's the flathead style with the diaphragm style carburetor that pulls fuel from the tank below it. Then this pump has to come off so we can use the crankshaft, put this centrifugal clutch on the crankshaft. Hopefully those two match up. It's not a weird crankshaft or anything on here. I don't think it is. This clutch came with the go-kart, so I'm not spending any money there. I will have to have chain though. It did not come with chain, so that'll put a little bit of cost into this build. But let's take this pump off.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yeah, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves.
So I got it all apart. It was a little bit more work than I thought, because obviously over the years it gets corroded being a water pump. But it was all plastic pieces, so it wasn't too bad. Just had to, crack them all off, and all these bolts twisted off. Yeah, whatever. But now this clutch, once I get this crankshaft cleaned up, we'll be able to slide right on there. It'll work. Just need to clean the crankshaft up. And then the next step is to get this beast running. You obviously got to give it credit, right? 3.5 horsepower. But hey, for $2.50, it's not bad. Dump the old gas out. That's some rusty fuel. That is brown stuff. Now I'll remove this backwards air filter. I'm pretty sure this side is supposed to be towards the front. Pretty sure.
I'm buried in my grave. To the system, I don't wanna be a slave. I've been doing shit my way, or the highway. And in the driveway is a nice range.
Okay, now I'm gonna remove the spark plug to double check that we have spark. Brand new plug in this thing. So I wonder if they were having trouble with it, not running, and he tried a new plug. Didn't work yet, and he sold it. See once if it has spark. Oh yeah, there's spark. Lots of spark. All right. So there's good spark. Now all we need is fuel. So I'm gonna put gas in it, and even though the tank is super, super rusty, I took compressed air and kind of blew it out, shook it around, got most of it out. So I'll try to just put a little bit of gas in there, flush it out with the gas. That gas will be dumped, and then we'll put some new fresh stuff in there. And then just hope that this carburetor was ran not too long ago, so I don't have to clean that. That'd be really nice. We're ready to try and start this thing, and I wonder why there's nothing connected to this throttle. There is no linkages there at all. So I wonder, is that just a water pump thing? Or what? Because there should be a throttle cable, throttle linkage, something to there. But maybe I'm wrong. My gas tank is still not fully cleaned out. But I mean, I don't want to waste any more fuel. So let's just try and start it. I have choke on and ignition on.
You got a mind, but even that could change. You could flip the gray matter like some batter in your brain. That's why I say, fake it till you.
Hey, it ran. That's actually surprising. I'm really surprised. That tank is really, really rusty. Okay, now I gotta see once if I can get it to run long enough that I can hold sandpaper to this crankshaft to clean it up. So now that I know this engine runs, and I got the crankshaft cleaned up to the point where the clutch slides on there, now I have to get this engine plate ready for an engine. Being that that won't work, and then this whole bolt that someone welded on there for whatever reason. So I'm just gonna, clean up the engine plate, get it ready for an engine. This plate right here, the seat backing or whatever, it honestly looks awful, being that it's, not aligned at all, and it's pretty ugly welds, and even worse up here. It looks bad, and it gets in the way of moving the engine all the way forward to tighten the chain. The drain plug and the oil fill both hit this, but there's plenty of slot room yet to move the engine forward to tighten the chain up. So I'm gonna be cutting that off there. It'll look better, and then we can get the chain tight.
Make it A, and if you play that game, then you just might make a change. Rearrange all the bad to okay. Take the worst I say and turn them to a game.
There we go.
Take the best
That's
I
off
say
there.
and
Now
put
I
them
just
on
gotta
display.
take
On
the
repeat
front
in
wheel.
your brain till you're feeling no more pain.
Clean it
Never
up a little
slow
bit,
yourself
make it look
down,
better.
you can do some more.
And
Push
then
past, start a
it'll
pain,
be a
and
little
find
bit
a
better
way
than
to
it was
open
before.
it up and finally
Lighter,
explore
for one.
everything that you
Look
thought you
better,
could never
and
do before.
more room
Even
to
when you
tighten the
feel
chain.
low, you can
I
still
really don't
go.
know why he
Even
put
when you
that
feel
thing in
slow,
there
you can still go.
with the Yeah, if it interfered with the engine, you couldn't put the engine on and slide it all the way forward to take the chain. I don't know why you would put it on in the first place. Homemade in this go-kart. Better. Got the spot where the welds were all cleaned up. Looking a lot better. Now I can throw the engine back on, get the sprockets aligned, bolt the engine down, nice and tight with the engine forward to get a nice tight chain. It's gonna be good. Still not gonna look very good, but it might perform pretty good for only having 3.5 horsepower. So I've gotten the engine all bolted down. All looks good. The chain's nice and tight. Yes, this clutch is not that clutch that came with this go-kart, because it came with a clutch for 35 chain, but then this sprocket down here was for 420. And I don't have a sprocket for down there, but I had a clutch for up here, so I put a different clutch on. So that's probably, I don't know, $30. It's from Go Power Sports. Link in the description below. But now the engine will only run with ether or carb clean. So I think I'm gonna take the carburetor off and try and clean that out. And then maybe while the carburetor's off, I'll just take the couple extra bolts off to remove the gas tank. Maybe flush that out a little bit better. Because the whole system has lots of rust and junk in it. So it's not really surprising that it's not running. So with the tank off, I can better see how rusty it is in that bowl. So there's no way this thing would have ran good without this being cleaned. And cleaning it still isn't going to guarantee that it's going to run good. The thing, I don't know, it used to go out to here, and I saw that on there, but it broke off when I pulled the carburetor off. So it's down there somewhere. Progress update. This is the bowl that's supposed to be able to hold gas, be able to hold fluids 40 years ago. And that's supposed to be down in there, attached to the top of the tank. So then the carburetor will pull gas up from a tube that goes all the way down beside it, and it'll suck it up into the carburetor and let it back down into this bowl right next to it. So it always has gas right next to the carburetor when running. Now, that's why it never ran super long for me, because it never had anything in here. As you can see, it's impossible. So I believe there's not much I can do to save this tank, being that this fell out. If this engine is that way, I would assume that other one that I got on that same pallet is this exact same way. So I don't know what to do. So I guess if you're doing this build at home and you want to make a go-kart for under $50 and you have the same problem, you could just buy a new gas tank from Amazon or something, new carburetor, or you could upgrade to a VM22 Mikuni carburetor. You can get those from Go Power Sports. You'd have to make your own intake manifold. I don't think they have them for those old Briggs. But since I want to get this build done, or I want to get this go-kart riding around the yard by the end of the week, I might just swap on one of these engines. We have either the 7-horse, I believe it's a 210cc power horse engine, or we could go with the Briggs Animal block. I had this on my mini bike previously, This makes 7.25 horsepower with the muffler on it, but that's been deleted, so it's making 7.5 or 8 horsepower. I think we're gonna throw the Briggs LO 206 engine on there. I got this motor for free, so technically that's not costing me anything. But yeah, you guys might not have engines laying around like I do, so then you'd have a little bit of a problem. I would recommend just getting a Predator 212 from Harbor Freight. Predator 212s are only like $150. Not bad at all. Getting 212cc, 6.5 horsepower. But this is even better than that. It's got the governor bypass. I hooked the throttle cable right up to the governor arm. Bypass that. That'll be a good engine for going on here. Threw the engine all back together so it looks pretty when it sits on the shelf, because I don't want to throw this engine away. Because who knows, maybe someday I'll want to put a VM22 on here and put a VM22 on the other engine and then have dual engines on a go-kart. These engines would be perfect for that. So yeah, that's all put together. The clutch is loosened. Now I just gotta take the engine mounts off and take this engine off so we can put on the bigger engine. Kind of excited about that, but it is kind of ruining the buy everything at this auction for $25, but it is what it is. Okay, just like that, the engine is bolted down, chain is tight, and we even have a working throttle. So now all we need is a gas tank, and this will be, the back of this go-kart will be ready. Otherwise, next we need a seat and a steering wheel. And we can be ripping this around the yard. I like this go-kart, even though it's probably the heaviest yard cart you'll ever find. So, if I zoom out and get the whole go-kart in the picture, this, and this needs to come off for it to look good. It looks awful with that on there. It just looks awful. So, we're going to be removing that. And it'll also give us a lower spot to mount the gas tank, because I don't want it to be way up there. That's a little bit excessive. Then you're putting a lot of weight up there and makes it really tippy. So if I take all those bars out and make something a little bit lower that looks a little bit better than that, then I'll have a spot to mount this gas tank. This came off of the engine that I blew up on this channel. I took the oil out of it and ran it to see how long it would last. That's what this fuel tank is off of. So, let's get cutting. So there's the piece I cut off. And there's the go-kart without that piece. Looking way better already. I think I might cut these square tubing off right there. Get rid of that. But yeah, it's looking way better than it was when I bought it. So now I just have to figure out how I'm gonna make something like that again. But for a gas tank, and maybe eventually with this build, we'll put like a spoiler on the back, you know, for downforce. That was my first time ever using a pipe notcher. Hopefully I'll learn the trick to make that look a little better over the years that I use it. And now the idea is to put that right there, if it fits, which it doesn't really. Like that is the idea. And then I'll do one on the other side. And that'll make the whole thing just look so much better than it was before. I got an angle cut down here, so that's flat on the square tubing. And it's notched up here so it fits the round tubing a little bit, not perfect. Now I just gotta do that on the other side. Make another one exactly like that for this side. And then that'll be better. I do this for, I don't think it's gonna make it that much stronger, but you know, I weigh 250 pounds. As much strength as I can get in this frame is, yeah, the more strength is better. I don't want this thing folding on me when I'm going over small jumps or something. So like that, and go on the other side, and then maybe I'll do something for a fuel tank on there too. There we go. Got those bars on there. Kind of angled them towards the center and the bottom, just for more triangles and stuff, you know, for strength. The welds are nothing to be proud of. I think this one's the best. And this one's probably the worst. Yeah. There we go. That should be a lot stronger. And the whole thing just, it looks so much better now. Without that big, ugly thing that went way up here. And this is better, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. This is better. Now, fuel tank, seat, and steering. Now I'm gonna real quick throw some paint plus primer on there, just to, you know, protect it, because just the floor, not the whole thing. The floor is really rusty, floor pan. So just to protect it, because I don't know when I'll actually get around to really painting the whole go-kart to make it look nice. So for this gas tank, I made these brackets go on there and there, and then these will have to somehow get mounted to the frame. But being that we're putting it up here, I don't want my head to be hitting that. So now, since I haven't even ever sat in this go-kart yet, I want to put the steering wheel on so I can get a feel for how it all is going to be and where my head is going to be, where the seat's going to be. I want to get a feel for it, but I have to put the steering wheel on first. So this hub piece can spin freely from the shaft, so I have to weld that up. And then those 3 holes in there line right up with this washer that was welded on this steering wheel by the previous owner. It's a pretty massive steering wheel, and it was actually a full wheel at once. Someone just took a hacksaw and cut it apart. But I figure I just will use it. It came with the go-kart, right? So that goes on there like that. All right, I have a fuel tank mount all right here above the engine, so it can just be gravity fed for now. Eventually, if I build this motor out enough, then it'll have a fuel pump on it yet. But I'm gonna now install that fuel tank get the fuel line hooked up, and we'll see if this runs. I know when I put it on the shelf, probably a good 5 months ago, 6 months ago, I know it ran just perfect. No problem with it at all. But, you know, it's been 6 months since then. So see if that runs. And then all we have to do is put that steering wheel on, which was 3 bolts, and figure out a seat. Okay, so I found this seat from a John Deere lawnmower. It fits in there. So I figured I'd just as well use it since we have something laying around and we're trying to keep this as a budget go-kart. So you guys can buy your own lawnmower and steal the seat off there if your go-kart doesn't have a seat on it. And then these metal pieces were on this go-kart already where the seat was mounted. I took them off the go-kart. I'll be mounting them to the bottom of the seat and then bolt them back on the ends onto the go-kart, and that'll be a seat. And we can fill this up with gas and start driving it around. So the go-kart is ready to drive, and I actually did do a quick test drive. I always like to do that, even without it being on camera, just to see how it runs. And as it turns out, this one is hard to start. It needs about full choke to start. But then, yeah, it can't run on full choke. And as soon as you take your foot off the gas or whatever, it shuts off again. So it has a little bit of a problem. It runs really good at half choke when it's cold, and then stepping on the throttle, moving, it runs pretty good. And then when it warms up, choke all the way off. But other than that, it runs pretty awfully. So we'll take the carburetor apart and just do that a quick clean, see if that makes it any better. Then we can do a hot lap.
Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 yeah, go, go, go. Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making. Alright, ready, set, go!
Alrighty, there we go. We were able to do a lap with this $10 go-kart. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. The clutch, when you're just riding around the yard, is actually hotter than the exhaust when you're done driving because how tall it's geared and how much clutch slippage we have. But it did a 121 3 times around the track. So that's pretty good for how tall gearing we have. I actually did a top speed test off camera and I got 44.8 miles an hour. So it's geared pretty tall because it still has a governor, it's bypass, but yeah, it's a stock motor. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more of this content, click the like button and subscribe. Comment what you want me to do to this go-kart in the future. Thanks for watching and God bless.